Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Tahira Bashir, and this is our lecture 5 uh, in uh, translational process. Next is the co and post translational modification of polypeptide chain. Co-translational process means the translational process takes place in the cytosol, and after then it is co-translated into other organelles such as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Polypeptide chains, they are also covalently modified, and they are modified to form a functional polypeptide chain, or maybe these polypeptide chain they trimmed, maybe there is a addition or removal of any molecule, or maybe and there may be a covalent addition, maybe of a chemical group. These all these modifications they are required for the protein functionality or protein activity. The post-translational modifications, they include several types of post-translational modification take place in our body, in our cell, and all of these they are required, they are needed for the functional final functionality of the protein. These post-translational modifications they required phosphorylation, acetylation, amidation, simylation, formylation, glycosylation, ubiquitination, palmitylation, nitration, hydroxylation, sulfation, and even the methylation. All of these processes they are involved for the final functioning of the proteins. Protein targeting also takes place. It is the co-translational modification here. Protein is synthesized in the cytosol, but it contains the signal sequence, this N-terminal signal sequence. It directs this protein along with this complex when ribosomal this RNA peptide complex, it directs towards the rough endoplasmic reticulum. This rough endoplasmic reticulum also contains the ribosome and also the signal recognition particles. The signal recognition particles they recognize the N-terminal signal sequence present on the peptide and a newly growing peptide chain, and this signal sequence when from a complex with SRP, the signal recognition particles. Now they are accepted, their receptors are present on the translocon. Translocon are the channels or the ways by which they enter into the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now, after attachment with their respective receptors on the translocon, these polypeptide chain now enter into the rough endoplasmic reticulum matrix, from where it resumes its translation. In this case, this translation is halted, but here it again resumes its translation. This one is one of the way for the co-translational modification in eukaryotes. These proteins they are also localized. Different localization signals are present. For example, the nuclear localization signals by which these proteins they are targeted towards the nucleus. The nuclear for example, here is the protein which contains the nuclear localization sequence. By this nuclear localization sequence, it form a complex. It form a cargo complex with the importin. This one is the importin protein. When it enter into the nucleoplasm, again there is a entry of, along with there is a entry of another RAN-GTP protein. This RAN-GTP along with this complex enter into the nucleoplasm. Here there is the disintegration of GTP to GDP, which also cleave this complex. Now in protein again it relieves from this protein, which is now uh, transported into the nucleoplasm, and this again enter into the cytosol, from where again the action of this GAP, again there is a separation of these important protein from this RAN GTP, and again it is ready to take another protein for the transportation into the nucleoplasm. This is the whole phenomena by which the proteins, they are transported from cytosol. Proteins are synthesized in the cytosol, and now they are transported into the nucleoplasm. By this way, this nuclear localization sequence, they direct the protein synthesized in the cytosol to the nucleoplasms, which are required in the nucleoplasm for different functioning. Another N-terminal amphipathic mitochondrial entry sequence are also present at the N-terminal. This one is the mitochondrial sequence which are present, and they direct these protein towards the mitochondria. Most of the proteins, they are synthesized from the nuclear DNA for although the mitochondria contain its own DNA, but most of the proteins, they are synthesized from nuclear DNA, and now they are targeted towards the mitochondria. For this transportation, these proteins contain the N-terminal amphipathic mitochondrial entry sequence, which allow these proteins to enter into the mitochondrial matrix. All of these, they are the co-translational process, and these processes, they are maybe after the translation. One of the process that take parts after the translation is the trimming. Trimming or the cleavage of some of the part of the protein which is formed after translation. It will take the protein to be function. For example, pre-proinsulin. It is the protein which is formed after translation, but it is not active. It is not functional. For it to become a functional protein, there must be a cleavage of some of their sequences or its polypeptide chain. So pre-proinsulin, it is first of all cleaved at this amino signal peptide chain or signal peptide. It will be cleaved first of all. Then there is a cleavage of this C chain. This one is the C chain. So after the cleavage of this C chain, this proinsulin is being converted to the insulin, which is now active and functional. So for the formation from non-active protein to active protein, trimming also take place, and it include in post-translational modification. Phosphorylation is the addition of molecule, that is phosphate group, and it has been done by the kinases. Kinases add the phosphate group. This one is the covalent modification. Most of the proteins, they become active after this modification, but most of the proteins, they become inactive. Phosphor, it is a reversible process by which the kinases add this phosphate group, and the phosphatases, they remove this phosphate group. So by means of the action of kinases and phosphatases, they become the protein may be active or may be inactive. Phosphorylation is another post-translational modificational process. Glycosylation, or the addition of the glycan, also take place for the functionality of the proteins. For example, here a protein is present, and this protein, it is glycosylated. Glycosylation, also oligosaccharides, they are also present on the proteins which are present on the cellular surface or cell membrane surface. These glycosylation usually, or addition of these oligosaccharides, they are usually for the for the recognition of the ligands, or they recognize different ligands on the surface. This glycosylation occur after the translational process. Glycosylation may be O-glycosylation or it will be N-glycosylation. If O-glycosylation, it means it will bind at the O-linked glycosylation takes place. This one is the glycosidic bond, which is O-linked. And glycosylation also takes place as the glutamine residues it involved in the glycosylation. So glycosylation may be O-linked, maybe it is N-linked. Similarly, carboxylation, the addition of the carboxyl group, it will also activate most of the proteins. For example, the carboxylation of many clotting factors, they will also activate many clotting factors. Carboxylation is also another post-translational modification. uh, Example of this carboxylation is the formation of gamma carboxyl glutamate. The formation of gamma carboxyl glutamate, it will form the chelation with calcium, so it involved in the clotting of blood, and it also activates many blood clotting factors. Hydroxylation also take place for this to give the strengthen of most of the extracellular matrix proteins, for example collagen. This hydroxylation may be, it is prolyl hydroxyl proline, or it may be a hydroxyl lysine residues. These hydroxylation also take place after the translation. This one is the prolyl hydroxyl groups, or maybe it is a lysyl hydroxyl group. Hydroxylases, the prolyl hydroxylases enzymes or lysyl hydroxylases enzymes, they are involved for the hydroxyl group. Incorporation of the hydroxyl group to the nascent proteins. This hydroxylation gives the strength by forming the hydrogen bonds, and it gives the extra strengthen to the extracellular matrix protein, for example in collagen. Collagen show a great strength of the hydroxylation at the proline or at the lysyl residues, mostly on the prolyl residues. Every fourth amino acid that is undergoes the hydroxylation of proline may undergo the hydroxylation and give the more strengthened by forming the hydrogen bond. These hydroxyl prolyl residues or the hydroxyl lysyl residues then after undergo the glycosylation. Here is the attachment of the glucose residues to after the hydroxylation of the proline residues. So hydroxylation also after the translation of the collagen, formation of the polypeptide chain of the collagen take place. Farnesylation take place for after the translation of the proteins or the formation of the protein. Basically, these farnesylated residues, they are useful and act as an anchoring of many residues like proteins. For example, COX protein, when it is formed, then it anchored by farnesylated residues. Farnesylation also takes place for anchoring the proteins on the surface of the membrane. And farnesylation, it is the post-translational modification. Thank you very much.